So, Sammy, you just said that you went to a concert this weekend. Which concert did you go to?
That's true. I went to 21 Pilots up in Milwaukee. It was their fourth performance of the Bandito tour.
Dang, so you got an early ticket to the show.
Yes, I did, and you and I got the last show.
The final one in Columbus in June.
So I'm going to two different showings for the tour, but
yeah, I mean, I know you've seen them before. You saw them for Blurry Face. How many times have you seen them?
I didn't see them for the Blurry Face tour. I saw them for Emotional Roadshow tour, which was like their Tour de Columbus. It was like their second tour, right? So that was the first time I saw them, and I loved that. That was like a life-changing event for me. It made me realize what I wanted to do with my life and just everything. And plus, it was just a great performance.
Yeah, I've seen them 4 times, and then I guess this June will be 5, and it is the best concert there is out there. If you're a fan.
Yeah, obviously you need to be a part of this fan base. David, you and I discussed last night, actually, the amount of haters out there. And it's funny because I talk to people and they're like, I don't see that there's haters. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't even know. They look at this fan base, this 21 Pilots fan base, is like a cult.
It is. It is kind of like a cult.
Think about it. Nobody shows up to concerts in ski masks, skeleton wear, putting yellow tape all over themselves, putting charcoal on their neck and hands. Like, nobody does that.
Did you show up like that?
Yeah, I dressed up for this one. I got a camo pants and like an ivory or olive button down, and then I put a bunch of tape on myself.
just wrap the rest in tape.
But I would have stood out if I wasn't wearing the tape. That's the thing.
Right.
So
that's pretty cool, actually.
It was. It's really cool. And I mean, there's obviously a bunch of groups, musicians out there that have a cult-like fan base. Look at Steve Aoki. So I mean, so I get why people don't like us, but they're wrong. I mean, the click is hype.
So this was your second one. You have one to compare it to. Are they comparable? Can you compare which one was better? Or since it was your second time, does that make it harder to compare? Because the first time is always going to be your favorite, no matter who you are.
Well, yeah, obviously the first time was my favorite, but I kind of wrote like a little analysis. Basically, Tyler was not all over the place like he has been in the past. You know, it wasn't as I guess, insane and psychotic as the past, but
yeah, I mean, they go psychotic in these shows. Sammy's dying laughing for some reason. I think something happened to his chair, maybe. I don't know what he's dying laughing about. But anyways, yes, Tyler does go psychotic. He'll climb up on random stuff in the middle of any concert venue. I saw him climb on a video a 100-foot stage. He was just up there, and the security people were looking at him like, "You better get down because you're not allowed up there."
I don't think they do that. I mean, they definitely don't do that anymore. Just because I feel like they got in trouble.
Yeah. And their venues are so big that it's hard to find a place to climb up.
But they did find a way to still elevate themselves. It sounds, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's actually going to go see them like yourself, but rather than climbing up the rafters, they kind of created their own rafter platforms that rose them up to the upper level of the entire arena, and it was sick. I mean, they were really high up, and then there was these lights that would come up and surround them as if they were boxed in this area, and then these lights they'd spin, and they were shooting on them and the crowd, and it was sick. That was a really cool part of the concert. And they sit up, and they're just levitated above everybody, and it's pretty sick. It's not actually during that song, but it's pretty sick how high they get above everybody.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
And then, they obviously kept some of their older aspects to the concert, but they've also added some new stuff as well, which kind of worked well. I mean, it kept the concert flowing rather than just a lot of dip to blacks in the middle of sets.
But it's still like a specifically Trench concert, right? It's for this album.
Yeah, so that was like the one issue I had with this concert was the fact that they only did I think 8 songs from Trench. And obviously 4 of them are the singles. My Blood, Nico,
Levitate,
Jumpsuit, and Levitate, right? So
yeah.
So take those 4 out, and let's just say
That's so
they
strange.
did like
That's so
four
strange.
other songs that were from the album, and I don't know. It's just like they didn't even do Chlorine, and obviously a lot of people love that song, and they didn't do that. So it was different. But so here's like my overall analysis is that it's more of a light show with some creative features, less of running around like lunatics. There's less dips to black or black breaks, right? So it's a more flowing from one part of the set to the next. It's not as choppy. And what also allowed this was Tyler being a little more addressing and personal with the audience. He was a little more personable, a little more fun, quirky. You know, you got to see his overall weird self. But it could have been a better set list with songs such as Cut My Lip and Chlorine being played. Choosing 8 songs from Trench, obviously it's a Trench-based concert, and they didn't play all the Trench songs. A little different, but it was cool to see them go through each different era that they had. You know, they had their skeleton costumes on, they had their ski masks on, they had their blurry face part on, they had their Trench part. So they literally went through every different time in their history. And they even played a song, not going to say which one, from their old album, their self-entitled album. So that was pretty cool. And so for me, personally, it was the same level of intensity. It was super, I don't know, it was just super intense. And I love that. You know, like Jumpsuit, when he starts screaming at the end there, everybody was screaming with him. And it was crazy. And then the pit obviously is jumping, and they during one of the songs they played Pet Cheetah, and that song was hype.
Is it a show where everybody there knows all the words to like all of the songs?
Yes.
Or were some of the newer songs a little bit harder for fans to know the words
It
of?
was actually interesting because Tyler would say, well, this is the part of the set where, and he kept saying that, and then all of a sudden he called himself out and he goes, I don't even know why I'm saying that. Obviously, you know that we're moving on to a different part of the set. But, he what did you just ask? I'm sorry.
I asked if everybody knew all the words.
Oh.
Because in the past, when I've gone, it's like you can't hear yourself because everyone is so loud. Everybody knows every little, like, phrase or word or,
so
like, what parts of the word to emphasize even. That
was the cool part, was that the way I see it is when a band makes it in performance, they don't need to do all their songs from their new album. And what I mean by that is, since they've made it, they can perform whatever they'd like, regardless of what album it's off of, and people are going to know the words to it. The one song that people may not have known as well was the one from their oldest album out on like Spotify and iTunes.
Which song was it?
Taxi Cab.
Ah, I know that one.
Yeah, a little too well.
Google Taxi Cab, Random as Expected YouTube channel. Shout out.
Shout out Random as Expected. There's a music video out there. If you all want to see
made by Sammy Rita.
And sung by David Kindle. So, one last thing I wanted to say that I thought was really, and I'm sure like this has happened in past concerts, but I was just a little more aware of it this time. And I just felt like it's something surreal to see people there during their performance crying. and it's almost like you think to yourself, how many people in this arena do you think their music has saved their lives? And there, I'm looking around during the encore and seeing all these people seeing all these people cry, and it's just very touching, and it's surreal to think that these guys are actually saving people's lives. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the topic of a lot of their music, as well as just music in general, even if it's not about suicide or depression or any of those sort of things, can still lead people to be in a happier place.
Yeah. You
can still save people without addressing those topics, but they address them head on frequently.
Yeah. So I thought that was, and I was just, like I said, this may happen in every one of their concerts, but this was the first one where I was vigilant of it and I was aware. And it was very interesting to see a lot of people like getting emotional.
Did you cry?
No.
Sammy's a big boy.
I did not cry. So yeah, that was a cool part, and the majority of the concert was just very flowing from one set to the next set. And obviously they have their different stages to give everybody a good viewpoint of their performance. And even the transitions between stage A and stage B were smooth. And like I said, there was a little more improvisation and a little more fun in the concert.